Welcome to this week's episode of the World of Roofing podcast, hosted by John Kenny of Cotney's Attorneys and Consultants and Andrew Rowley of roofmapping.com, where we will introduce you to a new roofing industry craftsman from around the world.
All right, well, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're listening to us from. I'm John Kenny, and I'm here with another segment of our World in Roofing. And once again, I have my co-host, Andrew Rowley, joining us from England. How are you this morning, Andrew?
Very well, thank you. Yeah, sun's almost been shining today, not too wet.
Very good. Yeah, we got where I'm at, my part of the world, it's been nice, clear weather, enjoying it. So I guess we're coming into the fall festivities that hopefully everybody looks forward to. I know Halloween is a fun holiday. I always enjoy it. So here we are, Moona. So today's guest we have Denise Cherry. She spans many decades in the roofing industry. And I say that from my heart because so do I. I love when we get a chance to interview people that have pretty much dedicated their life to roofing. And I think this is a good segment to come in there. Denise, how are you today?
I'm good, thank you.
So, I mean, you start out with your long career. And I mean by that is a long career of dedication. I think that's fantastic. So I know you probably got a lot of stories along the way, but I'd love to start out with, basically, you had listed yourself project manager in the Leeds College of Building. You were there 5 years or so. Kind of take us through the path of your career, starting with that, if you don't mind.
Well, I started at the College of Building on a temporary contract, and at that time I wasn't in roofing. I went through IT and did some funded projects. We got some European funding to do some IT work, but that has stood me in really good stead in the career I've had in roofing, because I managed to develop skills in locating funding for some of the projects that I've done since. So whilst I stationed close to the roofing workshop, that wasn't where I was, but I learned a lot of skills that have helped me since. From college, I went to work with a smaller roofing, I worked in funding again for a few years. Then I went to work for a small roofing company to set up a training centre. We did all types of training, including assessments for national vocational qualifications. Do you have a similar sort of system in the US to our vocational qualification system?
We do, but nowhere near to the extent or the actual organization that you find over in the European countries. Our unionized runs more of a widespread apprenticeship program. And then there's non-union companies that have it. It's between vocational schools and a lot of in-house. And then, of course, we have our national organization over here that provides certifications and different things like that. But I would have to say, Denise, we are nowhere near as well organized on a national level as you find in Europe, which is why I enjoy so much working with the organizations over there. So I put you way thumbs up on that.
Whilst I was working for this small roofing company, I got an opportunity to work with the Yorkshire Independent Roof Training Group. Now, also in the UK, and I don't know whether the system extends elsewhere, companies, all construction companies, paying a levy to the Construction Industry Training Board. And the Construction Industry Training Board look after the whole of construction training, but they also fund and support training groups. The training groups operate for a relatively small number of companies that are truly committed to training. And we, the training groups, manage the training for the companies that they represent. In roofing, we're very, very lucky because above all industries, we have a set of 10 training groups across the UK, Scotland, right down to the far south of England, Wales, and one in Northern Ireland. Our training groups go into businesses, assess the requirements, and we look at how many people might have qualifications that will enable them to get a card. We have a carding system in the UK, construction skills certification scheme. And the construction skills certification scheme has a green card for people, well, a green card for people who work in a labouring capacity on site, a blue card, which is a skilled worker card, a gold card, which is for supervisors, a black card for managers, and we have a red trainee card. Now, the skills cards show that people have the right sort of qualification. And because it's sort of a national project, a national system, it's quite easy when someone comes onto site to see if they've got a card and if they have, that denotes the right sort of qualification. We have the cards, the blue, the colour on the front denotes what sort of level it is. You switch the card over, on the back, it tells you what qualification they've got. And qualifications that are about in roofing, we have about 15 for roof slating, roof tiling, slating and tiling, new roofing. In flat roofing, we've got single ply billet felt liquids. Each of the disparate disciplines has its own qualification on the back of the card, which means that when somebody comes onto your site, you have, and no system is foolproof, but you have an idea of the skills that that individual has when they get on site. The routes to obtaining a blue card are generally through the National Vocational Qualification, and the vocational qualification is achieved either through an apprenticeship route or a route where, when I did my training, we used to call it sitting with Nelly, where you actually work alongside a craftsman for a period of time and take up their skills, and then the assessment for that is done on site. Although there are also specialist applied skills routes and specialist training routes by some of the professional organisations, because if things through traditional schemes don't move fast enough, because we've got CITB to support us, they put in initiatives to fill gaps where gaps occur, and that works reasonably well.
Question,
No,
if I may. The red card, you said, is a trainee. That's pretty much you're coming in the industry. Then you go to the green card, and then finally you get your red card, or your blue card. I'm sorry. So the blue card would be if you got all 15 qualifications. Then no. Okay. So when would you? So that's what. How long does it take to go from that red trainee card to get up to getting all those qualifications, would you say?
Well, I found it really interesting in what your colleague said in the last podcast, and it was really interesting to hear how James described his journey as a journeyman. Now, in England, it works very, very differently. A blue card specifies one discipline and only one discipline. No, it can have more disciplines, but you get a national vocational qualification for each discipline. And that extends as far as we have some individuals, or some roofers, that will probably do, for most of the working life, new roof concrete tiles. And the skill to put on a new roof with concrete large format tiles is not the same as it is obviously for somebody who does heritage stonework or slate work. It's very, very unusual in England for someone to have more than 2 or 3 NVQs. There are certain disciplines that sit well together. We tend to find that those who do sheeting and cladding tend also to do rain screen, and they will also probably do one sort of flat roofing. But we don't have the sort of journeyman discipline that you have. It would be very, very unusual. We tend to find we have those people who are absolute specialists in 1 or 2 disciplines, but not across all 15 or 20. That would be very unusual.
So that's what I wanted to clarify. That's interesting. Very good point to bring up, especially your listeners over there, they're used to the system. Our listeners here would not be. And Canada is very similar to the way the USA is on the training, where you pretty much get a broadband approach of training into all aspects of roofing. Maybe not so much wall panels, your rain screens and, as you call them, and then your underground waterproofing, that may be a very separate specialty item. But as far as roofing, like when I came through the trades, I started in the union and you had the apprenticeship program right on up to Journeyman. When you got to the Journeyman card, you had to have the knowledge to basically install all types of roof. That doesn't mean you are a master craftsman, by no means. You hone that later. But usually at that point, you find out what you like to do the most, and that's what you stick with. So definitely an interesting comparison and breakaway on the discipline.
I was very interested in that, although it is true to say that in the UK there is a move slightly towards what you're doing, in that at level 2, young people may well do flat roofing, which is a mix of disciplines for liquids, single ply and built-up felt roofing. There's a little kickback against that.
Sure.
In some areas, because everybody thinks that, and this is true the world over, everybody thinks that what they do is more complex and more specialized than anybody else. But there are some that group together, and there are those that group together naturally. But I think we've had, as you know, some challenges with sheeting and cladding in recent years. So the government is looking to beef up specialist qualifications, particularly at supervisory level, to make sure that anyone who operates at a skilled level, not a mastercraft, but at level 2, our blue card is a skilled level, not a master craftsman level. Unfortunately, we don't have a master craftsman level that is robust. We have level 3, and the difference between level 2 and level 3 is level 2 will be those things that you would come across most often and every day, whereas the level 3, for example, in slating and tiling, would be where a candidate is required to do something like an eyebrow or a turret within as a slate or a tiled feature. And in sheeting and cladding, this would be vertical tiling or curved roofs, barrel roofs. So there is an element above that. But when you get past that, past a level 3, the craft element falls away in favour of the management element more. There are a few people who can actually do hire where they go to teach, but there isn't a level 4 for a craft type based occupation. We then go to management.
I wonder if you think, in your opinion, being involved in this as you are, do you think there is a need to have that next level craftsmanship, or do you think it works pretty well the way you have it right now?
I think it works well the way we have it now. What I think there's a strong case for is we have level 2s in pitched roofing, both sheeting and cladding and slating and tiling. But we don't have level 3 in flat roofing. So we've no level 3 in flat roofing. There is no supervisory qualification that is specific. It doesn't include any elements of elements of supervision or surveying or estimating. When we get past that basic craft level, there's very little to prepare people for the world of preparation or management of small businesses even.
Now, we do find the same thing here. There are availability of courses and different things as far as, making that step from craftsman into running your own business. but there's not a uniform system for sure over here either. I think that's where what you do and what I try to do in the industry, you know, and Andrew's passion that we all talk about, that's what I think almost, you don't use the word world standard, but I think we're all working towards that, where you can take somebody with the shortages we're finding in labor today, they're not going to go away. I don't see that happening. We're beyond that. We have a couple choices. We got to have the best training, in my opinion, available for those who choose to come into the industry in that end. But we also need to have that career path. So when they spend that 15, 20, 25 years out on the roof and they want to do more within the industry, how do we get them to there? Because, you know, we're here in the US, I know for a fact, we call them baby boomers, the generation that I belong to. We're leaving, right? I mean, I'm not going anywhere yet, but the majority of my generation is retiring. So as you retire one and you don't pass that information down, it makes it harder and harder. So that's what I think we can help with the legacy. But I love the way you do it with the cards and the levels. I think that is so nice to know that if someone comes out onto your job, you kind of know what to expect by what they've been trained. I think that's a perfect system. It's like here in the US, if you are in the union side and you have an apprenticeship card, you pretty much know you got apprentice. But a journeyman, once you get there, we would expect a journeyman would know how to do all aspects of roofing. But like I'm saying, that doesn't mean they're a master of any of them. So I like the way you do it over there. You really know what you're expecting. So I think it's a good point.
It's really useful. I mean, it used to be up until about a year or so ago that they would accept a blue card with a working at heights endorsement. All roofers have to have taken a separate course which has basic health and safety. That's part of the CSCS requirement. But to have a roofing qualification, you also have to have done tests on working at heights, which I mean, we all see videos on our social media of people doing things right and wrong. But I think it's really important that people work safely. One of the things the Institute, we mentioned briefly before this call, the Institute of Roofing, and the Institute of Roofing has a course for people entering the industry and to come in at associate level. And that covers a wide range of subjects, a little bit of law, finance, and the different disciplines, project management and sustainability. So the Institute of Roofing, which is for individuals rather than companies, has quite a structured career path. The new CEO of the Institute of Roofing, Kay Rose, is taking the lead on moving that forward. Works well. Companies, on the other hand, are serviced by a number of trade organisations. You called them, I think, trade unions, trade bodies.
Yeah, trade unions over here. We have there's union and non-union. So union is more of an organized labor, right? That started back in 1900s. It still exists today, but they're only a smaller portion of the industry of what they were at one time. And that's how I started out. But we have non-union workers, which is probably the greatest need for training in our industry. That's how I see it, because that's probably 80% of the workers fall into that category.
And your teams work with, in England, we have a few really large businesses who tend to employ, we call it pay as you earn. They are fully employed and supported by the business. And then down from there, we have labour only subcontractors. And they are smaller businesses that tend to feed into larger ones or work down the structure. Does it work the same over there?
Yeah, we have a combination of companies that are that really only employ in-house labor. And then we have a lot of what you're talking about, sub labor. There's a lot of that in our industry as well. Sub crews that just provide labor. And so I'd say probably a good majority of companies use a mix between the both. They have in-house labor, and of course they have their sub labor, maybe for disciplines that they don't normally do in-house, or to add to the enhancement of having more available labor.
It does in the UK differ quite greatly by the job role. We have some sheeters and cladders tend to be more subcontractors, and it depends whether the companies work locally or nationally. There is what I do find, and I have usually between 30 and 100 companies that I work with on a regular basis. And one thing I've found is there's never such thing as a typical roofing company, because I have people I work with who are, there are 3 people in the company, and they're really, really keen to learn and to build a business. And I have companies with, I think my largest company has about 120, 140 people that work for them. It's also very different, the way people approach their staff. And I have some that have a record of having 3 or 4 generations of the same family working for them, and 3 or 4 generations of the same family managing the business. And quite often where there is longevity in the business, there is also longevity in the workforce.
Sure.
It sits together. I don't know whether that's common throughout the world, but it certainly seems to work in England.
I think you'll find in the larger, older metropolitan cities, you'll find multi-generation roofing companies in the United States. You know, like I'm 3rd generation. My family's been in roofing for 3 generations. I don't know if there is. It's here. I don't know if it's quite to the extent. Probably it sounds like you got quite a few over there that are passed down, which I think is great. I think here's probably a little more different. Used to be, but I don't think it's quite as much anymore.
Really?
But the family businesses, for sure, the family businesses, there's a lot of 2nd, 3rd, and 4th generation roofing contractors. I think it's probably the field end that I'm seeing less. Everybody wants the next generation to go and, so go to college and find something else to do. And so I see less of it in the workforce, but in the company end, I think it's probably quite a few yet, well, especially that 1st to 2nd, 2nd to 3rd.
What I tend to see, and because I've been in roofing a fair few years now, is I see a lot more women coming into the business side.
Mm-hmm.
But I have real trouble encouraging women to come into the trade side. But I do have, when they do, they say the most amazing things. And the stories of the women that have come through are quite amazing. I had one lady, she'd worked in the health service, but because of illness, she'd had to leave. And when she recovered, they still wouldn't have her back. So she joined a gang, a flat roofing gang, with her partner. And he said, "You come along, learn this." And she said, the best thing I've ever done. My health's never been as good because I'm out in the fresh air and keeping fit. And I love what I do. And when people find out about, about benefits of working on roofs, the health benefits. Another friend of mine said, I don't need a weaver. I don't need anything. I always do the equivalent of 20,000 steps a day. But she does her steps going up and down ladders, So it's a really good way to keep fit.
I did see a study that said the average roofer walks between 20 and 30,000 steps a day. So again, like you said, it's an aerobic workout and a weight. You're in the gym all day long.
Lauren said it was about 20,000 steps, and her children. We did some work. We do a little bit of work now and again going into schools when we can, although with COVID and such, it hasn't been possible in recent months. But we go into schools. The children absolutely love to see what goes on. And we went into the school where Lauren's children are And they were so proud. You're the famous one. You're the roofer. So it's, we have many fewer females on the roof than we'd like, but I have seen a significant increase in women taking up prominent positions in businesses.
Yeah.
And it might not just be that. I think probably they're getting more credit for it and becoming more visible. And as it's like anything else, you cannot be the thing that you cannot see. And as women in roofing become more visible, then people say, Sabina, I could do that.
I agree. We have statistically here is probably similar. I would say in construction, I don't have it broke down exactly to roofing, but in construction, 10%, almost 10% of the workforce is female. But out of that 90, only probably 1 to 2% are field workers. The remaining is in, like you say, managerial, supervising, or ownership positions. Over here, we have the National Women in Roofing Organization, which does have a combination of your field workers all the way up to, you know, manufacturing and everything's. It's an organization I enjoy participating in and, you know, helping promote and all that. So I definitely, it's growing. You're correct about that. It's definitely growing. And I think it's great opportunities.
I follow National Women in Roofing on LinkedIn. They do some really, really good work.
They do.
We've tried it on to a lesser extent here, but because a lot of it comes from a standing start, there isn't always the funding to support the growth of minority organisations, and there's also in certain areas a strong resistance to singling out any individual group. You know, we are all roofers, we are all working for the same means, but then I personally think that and have supported women who work on the tools, because you can't be what you can't see. And we have some in all sorts of roofing. I know of people of women who do these roles, but not everybody wants to be a role model. Not everybody wants to put their head above the parapet and say, "Look at me." It's not everybody's bag, you know. Some people are shy, and I won't force anybody to do anything they don't want to do.
Yeah, I think the important thing is just to have that path and the availability to anyone who wants to do it, right? I'm sure that's what you find most important as well, leading to it. I will add one personal note in. You brought up the Institute of Roofing. We talked about it before there. I am proud to say that I found out just last week that I've been accepted as a member into the Institute of Roofing. I'm excited to get a chance to eventually fly over and be more involved in you know, in that. I also work with the IFD. So I love working in the roofing, what I can contribute from my knowledge to what goes on over there. So I'm looking forward to that, eventually getting a trip over. Andrew, I know you said here before during this, there was something that you wanted Denise to promote. So I'm going to kick it to you. Is it Pride in Roofing? I'm going to kick it over to you and let you talk about that.
Denise and I got talking at the RCI show. Luckily, we bumped into each other and had a really good long chat. And one of the things she's working on, it's proud to promote roofing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, you know, what Denise said there about you won't do if you don't see it. That's part of, you know, what I'm trying to do with roofmapping.com is actually, let's bring the industry out of obscurity a bit. Let's make it visual. Let's make, you know, I've heard the hashtag, let's make roofing sexy again, whatever it might be. But let's just tell people about how good roofing is, you know, and let them make the decisions, because, you know, people will want to do what they see. If they see it on telly, it sparks an interest. If they, you know, if the young kids are doing something or playing games, that's what they want to do. So, you know, if we can make and promote roofing, it's going to help more people come into it, because they'll think, actually, this is a pretty cool industry and I want to design something like that, or I want to install a roof that looks that good. You know, so I've been lucky that I've put a new roof on today in Japan. And the quality of work that Mitch does is outstanding. You know, hopefully we can get some more of his work on, but that I want to inspire someone to think, wow, I'd like to be able to do that, and then get into the trade and learn and understand that it could take 5-7 years to be a master, copper worker or a steel worker or whatever it might be. But let's give them images, let's give them videos, stories and everything else. So yeah, Denise, if you want to talk a little bit about the program you've got and how we can help you, that would be great.
I mentioned earlier on the Construction Industry Training Board and their support for training groups across the UK. And one of the initiatives they supported a few years ago was Proud to Promote Roofing. Proud to Promote Roofing is an initiative that supports going out into schools and showing them the things that happen on a roof. We have small junior rigs with 3D printed tiles. They are super because they can be used by children as young as 4, because they're not soft, but they're and they're not heavy, so they are perfect for little fingers. But when we're going to careers departments in teenage schools, the same equipment becomes, how fast can you do it? And when you've done it, is it right? And we can use the same things over and over again. So Proud to Promote has several objectives: to promote people in schools, to promote a variety of careers in the industry, and also a diverse workforce. But it's also a little bit more than that. I don't know whether this is the same in the US, because we haven't talked about this, but in the UK, in the construction industry, unfortunately, there's a higher rate of poor mental health and suicide amongst construction workers than there is in almost any other career. And roofing, unfortunately, fares even worse than construction generally. And whilst we're keen to promote roofing to the next generation and roofing in all its formats, I'm also keen to encourage those people who work in roofing now to say, yeah, I'm proud to be a roofer and I'm proud to work in roofing. My father once said to me, probably about 50 years ago, he came into a solicitor's office where I was working at the time, and he said to me, well, I don't know anything about this, because I'm only a joiner. And to me, he was everything and could do everything. Nobody is only ever one thing. Nobody I've met that says I'm only a roofer is only a roofer. And it's usually a cop-out by people who run really, really profitable businesses. Mm-hmm. But Proud to Promote Roofing is to promote us to young people, but also to engender a certain amount of pride and enthusiasm in the industry. And that's where it ties in really, really well with what you're doing, because roof mapping links to some of the most amazing buildings. And to go into school and say, follow this and have a look at the buildings that are landmark buildings across the world. I mean, how super is that to have them all in one place?
Yep. No, I love the concept. I mean, I know when my kids were growing up, there was nothing more they'd love. We'd go for a card ride somewhere and they'd get to hear, well, I did that roof. They're like, all right, well, what roof did you do? That kind of thing. So, but definitely, you're right. It is pride. There's nothing, when you, especially, when you do a project that it becomes a staple in a town that everyone knows the building, and you know that you did that particular roof on that building. It's a good feeling. There's no doubt about it. You're doing something that most people can't do.
The cutting edge, the absolute pinnacle.
Yep.
When you go on your holidays and start to take pictures of roofs, when you've been here less than 24 hours and you say to your friend that you're on holiday with, you're seeing that roof over there.
When I go in a hotel, the first thing I do is...
I might be embarrassed, but I know it's not only me.
No, it's not. First thing I do when I go to a hotel is open up the window shades and see what view of the roof I have compared to the view of the city.
Yeah.
Who wants to see? Who wants the pool? Show me a roof.
My wife and I took a trip to the west coast of the United States a couple of years back, outside of Seattle, and we were in this old town, and we're walking along, and we're doing, you know, the touristy thing, just taking a day to be a tourist. And the first thing I spot is roofers tearing a roof off and putting the roof back on. So I take a picture of it for social media. My wife's like, I can't believe this. We go anywhere, you find, you know, it's just, no one even knows that's going on, but yes, well, that's what you're trained. You spot these things.
Well, you're not on your own. It happens throughout the world. I mean, I've got pictures of roofs in about 7 countries. I've been about a bit.
It's amazing. I'd love to see that. We're getting near the end. This has been fantastic. I can actually see us having a follow-up World of Roofing with you, Denise. You have so much to offer. But in
Bring
the
up
closing
photos.
minutes, is there anything that we didn't cover that you'd like to get out as a message today?
Cohesion and collaboration. The UK benefits very much from having some really supportive manufacturers. We don't only have to rely on the authorities and academia to deliver our training. We have some absolutely brilliant manufacturers, and slowly but surely, over the past 10 years or so, people are starting to act together and in concert, and it's making a massive change. Long may it continue. That would be my parting shot.
Very well said. Well, again, Andrew, any closing words coming out on your end today?
No, just really just following on from what Denise said. You know, what I see with roofmapping.com is, and we all know it's there, it's this symbiosis of, you know, contractor and manufacturer. A contractor can't fit a good product if the manufacturers aren't making it, but the manufacturers can't make a good product if there's not good contractors to fit it. So they have to work in tandem, and that's, you know, that's what we want to show is, you know, where the products are used, who's installed it, where else have they installed it, and just build up this big picture of to show the reality of what's going on in the roofing industry throughout the world. That's what we want to do.
No, fantastic.
Don't screenshot that.
I think I think what our audience is learning, and I've said this, like when I'm, you know, sometimes on my end, it's 2 a.m., 3 a.m. in the morning to join an IFD meeting, and they're a great group. They move it to the afternoon, so it's a little bit, I get to 8 o'clock, have my coffee. But, you know, whatever your language, whatever your country, wherever you come from in the world, I have to say roofing, talk about how to unite the world. Roofing unites the world, in my opinion. No matter where you're at, we all have one thing in common, and it's that keeping the building, people safe, and, you know, and the pretty architecture and the beautiful craftsmanship. So I think that is a world uniter, and that's the message that we're going to keep getting out there every single month. So I want to again thank everybody for joining us today. I really look forward to next month. We'll have another episode, and I want to thank all our followers. We have a lot. You're putting us up there in the podcast world, and that's great to get all these messages out. So until next month, coming from you live again, here we are. We'll see you next month. Thank you.
See you later,
I'll be
guys.
watching.